The rain was relentless that morning, hammering the roof of the pool house where I'd been living for 2 years. It was my 25th birthday, but no one had mentioned it. No card, no text, just the usual silence from the main house. I was brewing coffee, still in my faded hoodie, when the door rattled with a knock at 6:53 a.m. My stepmother, Elaine, stood there, her silk scarf untouched by the storm, her eyes cold as the slate tiles under her heels. "Elena, we need you in the dining room, now." Her tone wasn't a request, it was a summons. I followed her across the wet lawn, the Puget Sound wind biting through my sleeves. The dining room smelled of polished oak and her lavender perfume. My father, Victor Kane, sat at the head of the table, his laptop open, face unreadable. My half-brother, Trevor, 22, lounged beside him, scrolling his phone, his new Rolex glinting. A duffel bag, mine, the black one I'd used for college road trips, sat by the door, zipped tight. No one looked at me as I sat down. "What's this?" I asked, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. Elaine spoke first, her words clipped. "You're 25, Elena. It's time to stand on your own." My father nodded, not meeting my eyes. "Trevor's launching his startup. He needs the pool house for his team. You understand." I stared at the duffel. "Today?" I asked. Elaine's lips thinned. "We've packed what you'll need. It's for the best." No happy birthday, no apology, just the hum of the chandelier above and the sound of my pulse in my ears. I didn't beg. I stood, grabbed the duffel, and walked out. The door closed behind me with a soft thud, final as a gavel. Rain soaked my hoodie as I reached the street, the weight of the bag pulling at my shoulder. I didn't look back. My feet moved on instinct, carrying me toward downtown Toccoa, where neon signs flickered through the mist. They'd planned this, packed my life into a single bag, like I was a tenant, not family. But this wasn't new. It was the end of a story that started long before I was born. I was 6 when my mother died, leaving me with a father who buried his grief in work. Kane Enterprises, his real estate empire, was his true child. When he married Elaine, I was 9, and Trevor arrived a year later. He was their golden boy, charismatic, loud, the kid who could charm a room without trying. "Trevor's a born leader," Elaine would say, her hand on his shoulder at galas. I was the quiet one, sketching cityscapes in my room, teaching myself AutoCAD while they cheered his soccer games. At 16, I won a national design contest for a sustainable housing model. My father sent a check for $500 and a note, "Proud of you. Focus on school." Elaine framed Trevor's participation trophy from the same year. I went to UW Tacoma on scholarships, worked nights at a print shop, and graduated with a degree in urban planning. They offered me the pool house at $800 a month. I took it, thinking proximity might mean connection. It didn't. Trevor flunked out of Stanford, came home with a tech vision. My father gave him $200,000. Elaine turned the garage into his innovation hub. I designed his app's UI for free, stayed up nights tweaking wireframes. He thanked me with a fist bump. At family dinners, they talked about Trevor's game-changing ideas. No one asked about my freelance projects, blueprints for local nonprofits, pro bono work for community centers. I was the shadow, reliable but unseen. Last Christmas, I overheard Elaine on the phone. "Elena's fine, but Trevor's our future. She'll manage." Manage. Like I was a line item, not a daughter. I stopped hoping for their approval, but I never expected this. A birthday eviction. My life reduced to a duffel drag. They thought I'd fade quietly. They didn't know what I carried. I checked into a motel off I-5, the kind with flickering bulbs and a clerk who didn't make eye contact. Room 12 smelled of mildew and cheap soap. I dropped the duffel on the sagging bed, my hands shaking as I unzipped it. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, packed with surgical precision, like they couldn't wait to erase me. But in a side pocket, tucked under a folded scarf, was something they hadn't meant to include. A small, sealed envelope, yellowed with age. My name inked in my grandmother's elegant script. Elena Marie Kane. Nana Celeste, my father's mother, died when I was 14. She was the only one who saw me, taught me to draft, to dream in angles and light. "You're a builder, Elena," she'd say, her architect's rulers spread across her desk. At her funeral, she'd slipped me this envelope, whispering, "Open it when you're 25. It's your cornerstone." I'd hidden it in the duffel, forgotten in the grind of survival, until now. I tore it open, my breath shallow. Inside were 3 things: a handwritten letter, a notarized document, and a brass key. The letter began, "My dearest Elena, if you're reading this, you're 25, and the world is yours to shape." Nana wrote of Kane Enterprises, how she'd co-founded it with my grandfather, how it grew from a single lot to a $300 million empire. "Your father sees profit, you see purpose. That's why I'm giving you what he'll never understand." The document was a trust, granting me 20% of Kane Enterprises, effective on my 25th birthday. Irrevocable, it read, signed by Nana and her lawyer, Margaret Voss, in 2009. The key unlocked a safe deposit box at First Puget Bank, where the rest waited. Nana's final note: "If they hide this from you, find Margaret. She'll fight for you." My hands trembled. They'd known. For 11 years, they'd buried my inheritance, betting I'd never claim it. I didn't sleep. At 7 a.m., I called Margaret Voss. Her assistant hesitated when I gave my name, then patched me through. "Elena Kane," Margaret said, her voice warm but steel-edged. "I've waited a decade for this." She gave me an address in downtown Tacoma, a sleek office tower Kane Enterprises had built. The irony wasn't lost on me. Margaret was in her 60s, silver hair in a sharp bob, her desk flanked by photos of her sailing. She scanned Nana's documents, nodding. "Your parents ignored every notice I sent. They thought silence would bury this." She slid a folder across the desk. Ownership certificates, dividend schedules, board voting rights. "You own 20%, Elena. That's $60 million in assets and a voice they can't silence." I gripped the folder, my knuckles white. "What now?" She smiled. "You decide." I didn't go to the motel. I walked to a cafe, its windows fogged with steam, and searched Commercial Lofts Tacoma. By noon, I'd leased a 1,200-square-foot space in a converted warehouse, exposed brick, skylights, a view of the Sound. My first dividend check covered the deposit. The second bought a drafting table, a MacBook Pro, and a neon sign, Kane Studio, not Kane Enterprises, just me. I rebuilt my portfolio, emailed old clients, pitched new ones. A brewery wanted a brand overhaul. A nonprofit needed a community center design. I charged what I was worth. At night, I sat by the loft's windows, sketching under starlight, my grandmother's key on a chain around my neck. The safe deposit box held her original blueprints, sketches that inspired Seattle's skyline, and a note: "Build what they can't imagine." 3 weeks later, Trevor called, his voice frayed. "Elena, I'm screwed. The app tanked. Investors pulled out. Dad's pissed. They used company funds as collateral without board approval." He paused, expecting sympathy. "I need your help. You're good at fixing things." I let the silence stretch. He hadn't called when they kicked me out, hadn't texted on my birthday. "Fix it yourself," I said, and hung up. The next day, my father's number flashed. I answered on the fourth ring. "Elena," he said, his CEO voice cracking, "we're in trouble. The board's asking questions about Trevor's deal. We know about the shares." Elaine cut in, her tone pleading. "This is your family's legacy. Help us." I leaned against my drafting table, the neon Kane studio glowing behind me. "You told me I wasn't family," I said. "You packed my bag and proved it." "Elena, please," my father said. "We made mistakes." I looked at Nana's key, its weight grounding me. Mistakes don't hide a trust for 11 years. You chose Trevor. Live with it. I hung up, my hands steady. That night, I emailed Margaret, authorizing her to disclose my shares to the board. The fallout was swift. Headlines screamed, "Kane Enterprises faces boardroom crisis," citing undisclosed ownership disputes. Trevor's startup folded. My father stepped down as CEO. I didn't gloat. I worked. Kane's studio grew. 5 clients, then 12, then a contract with the city for a waterfront park. I hired 2 designers, both women who'd been overlooked like me. At night, I'd trace Nana's blueprints, her vision fueling mine. Trevor texted once, asking for a loan. I didn't reply. Elaine sent a Christmas card. I recycled it, unopened. Margaret called last week, laughing. "The board's begging you to vote. They're hemorrhaging cash." I smiled, sketching a library design. Let them wait. I hung up, the key around my neck catching the light. They thought they'd erased me, but I'd claimed what was mine. Not just shares, but a legacy they'd never touch. My birthday wasn't an ending. It was my cornerstone. If this resonates, drop 1 word below: builder.